and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to show you how to do a hem with a twin needle on a knit fabric. This tutorial is part of the Colleen Cape Dress and Top Sew Along. However, you will be able to use it for any t-shirt pattern, any knit where you are using the twin needle technique. Now, this is a twin needle that I just ordered on Amazon. It is a universal twin needle. I will link the one I have below. You may have had one that came with your machine, or you may need to order them, and you can order them at different widths. This is just a pretty standard width. I don't remember the number. You do want to keep that in mind. I like to order a set that comes with a few different widths to choose from. And as you can see, the shaft of the needle here is the same as all of your other needles that will attach to your machine. Now, for threading your machine, you're going to want 2 threads on top, 1 bobbin as usual, and you pretty much thread it the same way you would any other thread for a normal straight stitch. Now you're going to want to, I usually just hold on to both fabrics. I kind of pinch them between my thumbs and keep a separation there, and then I thread them together at the same time. I feel like that kind of keeps everything from getting twisted. And I still have this separation here that I started with. So I'm gonna put this side through my left needle and the other side through my right needle. Now you still want all your tails going in the same direction here. And when you start sewing, it's important to remember you're just going to use the regular straight stitch on your machine with a length that you would typically use in this scenario. Now, for this top, I have gone ahead and I have serged the raw edge of my fabric. If you don't have a serger, totally not necessary. I do like the way it looks, but you'll find that the way the twin needle creates a zigzag underneath the fabric with the bobbin thread. So it is going to encase that raw edge. You don't need to clean finish it. If you have a serger, it does look extra nice, but it's totally not necessary. I've also marked my hem fold. Now, this is important even if you usually eyeball it, because, or if you're used to using the guide on your machine, I still usually mark it. I don't mark many things, but I do mark a twin needle hem because the twin needle is what we want to see on the outside of our garment. So instead of a traditional hem where we would be hemming from the inside of the garment, and we can see, yeah, that looks about a ½ inch, that's fine. But then your beautiful double needle stitching would end up on the inside of the garment, which is not what we want. We want that nice stitching on the outside. So with a twin needle, you're going to be stitching, folding the hem under. So you're not really going to be able to see what's going on under there. So it's good to mark your hemline. Now you can still use, it's kind of hard to see my marking right here. You can still use the guide on your machine because, like for instance, this pattern has a ½ inch hem. So if I put this fold line, if I'm sewing along and I'm folding everywhere I have a mark, I put that fold line along my ½ inch mark on my sewing machine, I should be catching this edge underneath if this is properly a 1/2 inch, which is what we want. Ideally, we want the left needle to be landing on the outer edge of this fabric, the raw edge of the fabric, and the right needle to be somewhere on the other side. Now, again, we can't see, so it's a good idea to use your machine's tick marks. Again, I always mark the fold, and if it helps you, you can put another mark a 1/2 inch up so you can see when you fold at the fold mark, so you have a guide for where your needle needs to go. I actually find that if I'm folding at the fold line and watching my guide on my sewing machine, I can also feel underneath the fabric where that raw edge is. Now, if your fabric is super light, you may not be able to feel that. But I can feel, and I don't know if you can see, I can also kind of see the indentation of where this raw edge of fabric is. So as long as that edge that I'm feeling is going into the middle of the foot, I know I'm gonna catch the edge in place with these 2 needles. Now, other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like sewing with a straight stitch. So I don't typically back stitch. I'll just stitch over my beginning stitches with the twin needle. Hold your threads in place. There's a lot of threads. You want them to kind of be straight. And you just sew like you normally would. And as I go, I'm gonna fold this under. And I'm feeling, you'll be able to watch my fingers. As I'm feeling along, I can feel the raw edge, and I want that raw edge to go right into the middle. And you can see my stitching coming out the other end here looks very nice. And if I go underneath, I can tell that my left needle is hitting right at the edge. And that looks very, very nice. So I'm just gonna continue all the way around. And I am going to fold, and I have my fingers here on the underneath raw edge. And I promise I'm not horrible at cutting. The hem of this is slightly curved. That's why this stripe is not perfectly lined up. My personal machine, doesn't like me to go too fast when I'm doing this twin needle. Just make sure you're folding and feeling. If you need to use pins, by all means use pins. I would pull them out before you send them under the foot. If you're used to sewing over your pins, you have 2 needles here, you're twice as likely to hit a pin. So I would pull them out as you sew. I don't think you need pins to complete this technique, but if they make you feel more comfortable, by all means use them. Another thing that might make you feel more comfortable is pressing the hem into place ahead of time so you have a clearer fold to follow here. I find that marking it works just fine, and I don't know if you could see, I didn't even necessarily mark it all the way around. I'll skip a couple inches or so. Now, you want to make sure that your tension is in a good place. As you can see here, my fabric is nice and flat. If you were to see any puckering in between the 2 needle stitches, that's also known as tunneling. You would want to loosen the tension most likely on your bobbin, and you may want to try loosening the tension on the top as well. You want this hem to lay nice and flat. Okay, I'm coming up on where we started. I also have a seam here, so I do find that I need to help my machine over that seam a little bit. So I'm gonna just slightly push as I go. And then you want to, as best you can, stitch right on top of your previous stitching, so you don't have too many weird overlaps. And then you can give it a little baby back stitch. It doesn't really need a ton, but you want that stitching to line up right on top of each other, like so, for a nice clean look when you're done. Be sure to clip all your thread, and then it's always a good idea to go around and make sure there are no places where you didn't quite catch that stitching underneath, or that fabric underneath. But this all looks pretty good. I will hold this here and zoom in a little bit so you can see how that looks there. So the bobbin of the double needle stitch will create a zigzag. So this does have a slight stretch to it, which makes it great for knit fabrics. And we have this really nice double needle stitch on the other side. And that is how you do a twin needle stitch. Obviously, you want to give this a press. Thank you so much for joining me here in the studio today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to check out my other video tutorials as part of this sew along. Happy sewing, everyone. Bye.